Welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Bench. I'm your host, Nick Ingram, and today I have the opportunity to interview Chris Redman. He has just a crazy story, grew up in Louisville, went to high school there, eventually would go play college football at U of L, break a ton of records, and then go on to the pros where he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. So I hope you all enjoy my conversation with him where we talk about everything from football to his Super Bowl experience to his son, and then get his score prediction for the Super Bowl eventually. Today we are joined by Chris Redman. Chris, thank you for joining me and giving me this opportunity. And I'm just going to give you a second. If you want to talk a little bit about yourself, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, Nick, first of all, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Yeah, I'm born and raised Louisville, Kentucky. My dad and my grandfather both played football at Louisville, so I was the third generation to play Louisville. I was in the 2000 draft in Baltimore Ravens. Was a part of some really cool teams, winning a Super Bowl, and now then I ended up playing 5 years in Atlanta. Had a small stay with the New England Patriots and Tennessee Titans. And then I've been coaching the last 4 years with Christian Academy, won 3 out of 4 state championships in the last 4 years. So it's been a good run. My son's a receiver there, and he's going to be going to Ole Miss next year. And so that's a little bit about myself. I'm involved in a lot of different business opportunities right now. One is a partnership with Dr. Chirag Patel here in Louisville. And so yeah, I'd love to talk to you. Whatever you want to talk about, let's rock and roll.
All right, absolutely. So let's start with the high school days. Obviously,
Right.
you went to Louisville Male High School. Your dad was the coach. How was that experience? Your dad coaching you in high school? What was that like?
You know what? It was great. I put my dad in the same category as someone like Ray Lewis as far as a motivational speaker and being able to get people just to run through walls. And he just had a special talent. I've been around a lot of coaches, and not many coaches have this kind of talent that he had. He didn't treat me any, better or worse. A lot of coaches treat their sons worse. In a lot of scenarios, he treated me just like everybody else. Expected a lot out of us, but at the same time would encourage us, and we had a lot of fun. And that was the big thing. Is it was a great environment. I see so many people coming up to him, and how many lives he's changed, through their football careers. And a football coach has a great opportunity to be a leader and a role model, and he did a really good job at that.
So you won the state championship in 1993. Obviously, you played on some really good teams. Part of that, probably your dad's coaching. The other part, you were a phenomenal quarterback. I mean, you were a two-time All-State player. So when you won that state championship, what was that like? And how did that playing on a big stage like that prepare you for college and then eventually the pros?
Yeah, I ran out a lot of tunnels in my lifetime, whatever. But I remember coming out for the state championship with my dad there. My grandfather was there with us, so the family, my eventual wife was on the sidelines cheering for me. And so what a great memory that was for me. It was in the rain. We had to be, it was an old Cardinal Stadium. So like really cool atmosphere. So, but it definitely prepared me for, a big atmosphere and being able to prepare. And so definitely anytime you have an opportunity, state championships are so rare, and it's so hard just to have that opportunity. We were actually a better team my senior year and got upset. So not always, sometimes the best team wins the state championship. So we were very fortunate to have that opportunity, and I was just really happy to do that with my family.
Absolutely. And you won National Player of the Year. So what was that like? And at what point in the season did you realize, like, man, I've got an actual shot at this?
Well, I ended up throwing the second round of the playoff, throwing a national record of 57 touchdowns at the time, which is way past that now. But at the time, that was a big deal. And that's Sports Illustrated was on the sidelines, and there's a ton of media and stuff like that. So that was a really cool opportunity. Nowadays, that's worth a lot of money, with the NIL and this world and culture we live in now. So it would have been an interesting time coming out of high school, but being the number one quarterback in the country. But like I said, we ended up losing that year, and so that was a great opportunity to learn how to be humble and and learn how to learn from those losses. And sometimes the losses are where you get your most education from.
Yeah, I mean, the NIL, shoot, you could have made $5 million to sign somewhere, as crazy as those numbers are getting
Yeah, the
now.
number
Like,
one pick's about an $8 million ticket right now. So like, I don't know if Louisville would have paid $8 million back then. So like, but it's the world we live in. I'm happy to see these guys. You never know how long your career's gonna last, and so it's really awesome to see how far the game of football's come.
yeah, you threw 8 touchdown passes and a half. That honestly, I've seen all the records, everything you set. That might stand out to me the most, just because 8 touchdown passes is just a crazy number for a game, let alone a half. So, can you tell me a little bit about that game that you did that, or maybe it was multiple games?
Yeah, actually, it was 2 games in a row. The first game was against Atherton, and they weren't that good, and that was just one of those deals. It's hard to get 8 possessions in a half, honestly. And so some things have to go your way. But the second one was against Ballard, and Ballard was a top 5 team in the state at the time. So we really caught them off guard. Like I said, I was very fortunate. I had some incredible receivers, Ivan Green and Danny Mosby, and some of these guys that I played with. I mean, we had a lot of incredible talent that I played with at that point. Chris Pointer was one of the best players in state's history, I think. But that being said, I was just very fortunate to have a good offense. We were, the shotgun wasn't really a popular thing at that point. We kind of broke that out, and really was creative. And now it's kind of like the norm now. So we had a unique style on offense and on defense, and so it was a lot of fun, and it was great to win awards. But those awards, are accompanied by a lot of people around me. So I was just happy to have some great players and great coaching staff around me.
So you threw 8 touchdown passes and a half. What was the game total then?
Well, the national record for a game was 10, but my dad wouldn't let me play the second half, so we just played the first half. And I don't know, we had one game. We scored, it was like, I think, against Eastern. They were the number one team in the state, and we beat them like 80-7. So we had a pretty powerful offense, and our defense was really good as well. So those are some of the best teams in Kentucky State's history, I think. And we I only played 57 touchdowns, and there was equivalent to 6 games that I didn't even play because I didn't even play the second half. My dad wasn't, that's probably better for me because I learned that stats aren't everything. If we would have worried about stats, I mean, we could have probably set some numbers that would never been broken. But once we got up, we would come out and let the young guys play, and so that was just the way. And that was honestly taught me to really. I didn't even know my stats in high school or in college. Like I just kind of been told them over time and stuff. So to me, it kind of put the team concept before individuals, and so a lot of people get wrapped up in stats now. But we could have really put up some crazy numbers, which some people do, and they're looking just to get those big numbers. But we were more out for winning championships and doing it as a team.
Yeah, I mean, you were very successful at that. So let's talk about your recruitment a little bit. Obviously, you were maybe one of the best recruits to ever come out of the state of Kentucky. I think that's pretty safe to say. But your recruitment journey, it seems like it was a little bit of a wild one. So originally you committed to Louisville.
Yeah, I always want to play Louisville. Obviously, my dad, my grandfather played there, so I wanted to be a Cardinal my whole life. And then, right before my final visit, I was going to go down to University of Miami. I wanted to check out Miami, and then on that trip, that's when Howard Schnellenberger, who I wanted to play for, he left and went to Oklahoma. And so that kind of rocked my world. I didn't know who the next coach is. The next coach came in was a defensive coach, and I was just like, I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to play for a defensive coach. And so my second choice, I just really fell in love. We won a national tournament. Actually, one of the top tournament in the country was at the University of Illinois, 7-on-7 during the summer. And so I got a really good relationship with Greg Landry, who's the offensive coordinator, and their family is very famous in the NFL, and so we had a great relationship, and I was real excited to play in the Big Ten, and they had an amazing defense, and I think it could have been a great opportunity. So that was my second choice. So I ended up signing my letter of intent with the University of Illinois. Well, the day after I signed, they fired the offensive coordinator, Greg Landry. Turns out they knew about that a month. The athletic director mistakenly told my dad that they knew about that a month earlier. So instead of us raising a lot of cane, we said, hey, just give us all 5 years back of eligibility. And so they did. They gave me all 5 years back, and that's when I went back to my original plan, and I was just going to stick it out with Coach Cooper, which he only lasted for a couple of years. But yeah, it was a crazy ride. I had an opportunity. I passed up Michigan. I mean, I could have really signed about anywhere. I didn't want to follow Peyton Manning, which that ended up. T. Martin ended up winning a national championship after Peyton. So it's. But I'm really happy that I stayed at Louisville. Louisville's a great. So we built I think being a small part of that building block at the University of Louisville, and where they're at now in the ACC is real special. So I'm very happy. I'm so glad I did that, and I have a lot of pride in my city, and I love that. There's not many guys. We have myself and Brian Brum got a lot of great quarterbacks come from Louisville, but there's only been a few guys that are actually Louisville guys that stayed here that could have went other places. And so I'm very proud of, to do that.
Yeah, you talk about that program turnaround. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but let's just talk for a second. You said you were a third generation Cardinal. So what did that mean to play for the same school that your dad and grandpa did?
It meant a lot. That was I'm a homebody, and like I said, I have a lot of pride in this city, and yeah, I wanted my dad to be at every game, my grandfather as many games as he could make, and they made every one they could, and so for me, that was something that I took pride in. I was like, you know what, let's see if we can make this team a little bit better than I left it. And we ended up having the top offense in the country my junior and senior year, and so we never really had that complete team. We're really good on defense when I was younger, and we're really good on offense when I was my last few years. And but now it's really cool to see like the team, the recruitment, the facilities, the stadium, and got to throw the first touchdown pass and at the time it was Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. Now it's all in, but yeah, I was very very proud and to stay home, and it meant a lot to follow in the footsteps of my grandfather and my dad.
So let's talk about your early U of L career. So you redshirted your first year. Was that just to gain some experience to learn a little bit?
A lot of gaining weight because I was young, I was light, and so I was tall and very thin and stuff. And then, you're gonna take some big hits and stuff, but the more you can learn, and that jump from high school to college is a monster leap when you're playing top talent. And then yeah, so I definitely learned a bunch my first year, and the speed of the game, and put on the enough weight where I could go out there and compete at the college level.
Yeah. So kind of your first action is, from what I've researched, you guys won a comeback game at Michigan State, and that was really
Yeah.
kind of the first time you played in a serious game. So what was that like?
Well, it was really cool. Nick Saban was the head coach up there at Michigan State, so that was a big play. So we didn't play too many Big Ten teams at the time, and so for us to go up there in that environment, and we were big time underdogs. The starting quarterback, Jason Payne, very athletic. He was running around, he got hurt his shoulder, and so he came out, and I went in there, and I mean, I remember I was so nervous the first play. I put my hands under the guard, and they're like, "Oh no, get over this way, over this." So I end up, so that I'll never forget that. My dad was on a recruiting trip and got really good seats from the Michigan State fans because he took a guy, Tony Driver, who ended up playing in the NFL as well. But he was up on a recruiting trip with them, and so they got really good seats. And right in the middle of that, and my dad went nuts right in the middle of the alumni section, and but they all understood, it was obviously his son and everything. But that being said, came back. We were down by 10, came back, threw 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards against them, and we beat Nick Saban and Michigan State up there in the Big House. So that was a lot of fun, a great memory.
Yeah, so then your sophomore season, you kind of broke through. You kind of got your name on the scene a little bit. You set some school records, but your team had a 1-10 record. So what did those records really mean, not having a lot of team success?
For me, that was the best thing that ever happened in my life, is going through one of the hardest things is, losing's not fun. And every week, I'm trying to find something positive and trying to build on, what we did wrong and make it better. And so, unfortunately, it was one of those years that, yeah, we threw for a lot of yards, and we could see what was coming. We knew that we had a lot of talent, and it's just a matter of putting everything in the right place. And unfortunately, we lost a coach that year, and then we brought in another coach, John L. Smith, who he liked to light it up, and he was the first one to 50 wins. And so we were really excited when he came in, as far as a quarterback and an offense. We're really excited to have him come in, and he really kind of changed the culture and brought in some great coaches around him, Bobby Petrino being one of them. And so I just had a lot of fun. Next thing you know it, we didn't, the first game that John L. coached against Kentucky, it was against Tim Couch, and we opening the Cardinal Stadium. we didn't really, know the offense. But man, about halfway through this, we played Boston College, and man, we really broke through and figured this offense out, and we were pretty much unstoppable the rest of the year. So it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed those last 2 years, and having some fun offenses, and great players around me.
Yeah, and like you said, you guys went from a 1-10 season to making consecutive bowl games, which obviously isn't an easy thing to do in college football, and especially not at a program like Louisville, which at the time wasn't at the top. They are now. They've really made a name for themselves. But how was how was being a part of that turnaround?
It was awesome. Like Louisville's never been to consecutive bowls in the history at that point in the history of Louisville football. So that was a really big deal, and so we were very proud of getting to where we got to. It wasn't, we weren't playing in the Orange Bowl or anything like that. But at the time, I mean, you got to think about it. Back then, it was a commuter school. We had dog food plant in the middle of our campus down there, and every practice we had to smell dog food, so it got pretty rough. And so we're, I think, very proud of how we handled, that turnaround, and the excitement that built around the school. I think was a pivotal point. And the next thing you know, we have a lot of quarterbacks coming into to the University of Louisville, and really kind of built a tradition that's continuing on today.
Yeah, and you obviously set some records in your senior season. That would eventually lead up to you declaring for the draft. So, what was that process like, getting in the NFL draft and the combine, all that?
It's like 2 years combined, honestly, because you go a whole season of your senior year in football, then you go right into the draft, you go right into mini camp, and it was a nonstop. And then, fortunately, when I got drafted to Baltimore, we were on a really good team, and we ended up going to the Super Bowl. So for me, it was 2 years of constant, football, and it was a lot of work. And a lot of people, they always talk about that rookie wall, and our wall kept getting taller because we kept making but it was so much fun to be a part of that playoff run. We were on the road. We had to go on the road wherever we went in Baltimore. And so it was a very long but rewarding road. And so I was really fortunate to be on that team, and I got to play some that year. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you won Super Bowl 35 against the Giants. What was that game like? I mean, that's the biggest stage in all of sports, all of America, definitely football. What was it like playing on that stage?
It was amazing. I mean, we went from I was a third string quarterback going into that game, and Trent Dilfer was a starter, Tony Banks was the backup, and I was the third string. And so I had a blast. It was just so much. It was so cool seeing like Hulk Hogan on the front row, and like, Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake were doing the halftime show. We're seeing those. It was crazy. But in the first half, Trent Dilfer broke his hand, and Tony Banks had a really bad shoulder. So they said at halftime, we're in the locker room of the Super Bowl. At halftime, they're like, "Chris, you're going to finish the game out." And I was like, okay, so all of a sudden you go from like enjoying this incredible atmosphere, and then to like, man, you got to get your mind right for the game plan. And so it was a crazy experience. And like I said, we ended up winning pretty significantly there. And what a fun experience to be a part of that. And with some great players like Ray Lewis, and some of those guys were a lot of fun.
Yeah. So who was the most interesting teammate on that team? I'm just wondering who was the most interesting. Who did the craziest things?
Shannon Sharp was pretty funny, and you never know what he was going to say. But probably the most interesting was Tony Saragusa. And unfortunately, he passed away here recently. But he was the one of the funniest human beings I've ever been around. And so he would shoot guys with paint guns, the freshmen or the rookies when they came to a rookie camp with paint guns. Like you never know. This guy would fly in a helicopter right before practice, and just walk to the locker room. He was a very unique, hilarious, great player too. Very large man. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so you had some injuries. You had a back and a shoulder injury, kind of hurt your time with the Ravens a little bit. What did those injuries? How did that affect you?
It was probably my biggest opportunity. And I came in, it was in my third year. I hadn't finally had my opportunity. We started the first game, and we were 3-3. We won on Monday night. threw a couple touchdown passes against the Broncos, and then we played Tim Couch and the Browns on Sunday night. We won there, and then we won in Jacksonville, and like we're 3 in a row. And so I was at the time second in the NFL for touchdown to interception ratio. So I'm like, and I never really had that breakout game. I had some good, decent games. And I was like, all right, this thing. And then sure enough, I twisted my back, and I had back injury from high school actually, and it caused me to lose feeling in the right side of my calf and my foot. And so I actually would fall. I went in practice before the Pittsburgh game, and I was trying to practice, and I fell down. I was like, what in the world's going on with me? And sure enough, it was from a sciatic nerve from my lower back. So I had to have surgery. I was out the rest of the year. And, so in my prime, I never really got an opportunity. I did get a chance to come back, but it was, it's a little different when the older you get. And, NFL is all about longevity. So I ended up, playing a long time. I played football till I was 35 years old. So with a long career, finished in Atlanta, and I had a small stay in New England and Tennessee. But, it's just part of that's football. That's life. And it never kind of typically works out exactly the way you want it. But I'm still proud of my career and happy I got a chance to meet a lot of cool people and share a lot of great experiences.
Yeah, so whenever you played for Atlanta, Bobby Petrino was your coach. Was that interesting, him coaching you in college and then eventually in the pros?
It was tough, he was a tough coach, but I've never been more confident going walking to the line of scrimmage with another person. Like, he was the best play caller I've ever been around. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and he left in the middle of the season. And he brought me in, so I didn't know, but I had some really good games at the end of that year. And the next coach, was a fan, and he kept me on, and so we ended up drafting Matt Ryan, and so I got to be really close with him, and he's a Hall of Fame kind of quarterback, and so I was just happy to be there with him for 4 good years or 5 years, 4 years with him. And so it was a unique experience. And it was just, the careers are careers. You can't really know exactly if you're going to get hurt or not. So, but if you'd have told me, hey, you're going to play 9 years and be on a Super Bowl team in the NFL, I would have taken that, at any point. So I'm very proud of it.
So let's talk about currently what you're doing. So we'll get to the coaching in a second. I want to talk about the golf. I'm a huge golf fan. I know you like
Oh,
to
cool.
golf.
Yeah.
Um, when did you start playing?
I started playing in high school. My roommate in college was the top golfer at Louisville, so he made me play every course from the tips, and we just putted everything out. And he was really tough. He got me to where I was a D. I never was a great player. I mean, my handicap was the best I ever got was a 2, and I shot 68 on Valhalla before in a member tournament. I'm a member there. My son's getting into it now, and so I love golf. I got to play in the American Century tournament out in Tahoe. That's where I proposed to my wife, actually. I played out there 4 years. And so, my top finish there was 19th. So I had some great experiences and loved the game of golf. I got really blessed to play Augusta a few times down in Atlanta. So that's like a golfer's dream. And so I've been really fortunate to play some really cool courses in Scotland, St. Andrews and Muirfield and stuff. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, my dream course has definitely got to be Augusta. What
It's
what
crazy.
was it? How does it look in person compared to how it looks on TV?
I mean, exactly the same. It's amazing. It's like it's a tough walk, but you're so excited. It's one of those places you can remember every shot on every hole. Like, a lot of times I have a hard time. Some people can do that, but I have a hard time. I look back, I kind of forget. You remember every shot and every spot in that hole. Like, there's not a hole that you can't, remember. And that's why it's a unique and special place. There's so many cool moments, and so I'm a golf nerd, I guess, and I loved it, and it was a great experience for me. It's like Disney World.
Do you have any birdies out there?
I had 5 birdies. Yeah, actually, we
Dang.
played the members tees. We didn't play the back. The first time I played it, we played the members tees, and we didn't play the back tees. And it's not. I mean, it's not crazy hard, but I had a lot of both. I think I shot 74 with five birdies, so it's not really that great. But birdied all the par fives and then number 5. So, but it was amazing place. I got the scorecard hanging up over here in my office, so it's pretty cool.
So then you went into coaching. You coach at Christian Academy right now, and you coach your son. What's that like, knowing that your dad coached you, and then now you get the opportunity to coach your son?
It was a really cool experience, and we battled a lot of things through his career. He played receiver, he didn't play quarterback. He probably could have played quarterback at other, but we had really good quarterbacks at Cal, and he was a lot faster than his dad. So we put him out at receiver, and he was getting to be, where he needed to be, and was, starting to really get strong. And then all of a sudden he lost a lot of weight, and we noticed he had some issues with his back. It turned out he had cancer, and so he missed the end of his junior year, and we had to go through six surgeries and four chemotherapy regimens. So, but he came back, and it's an incredible story. He beat cancer, and after all the surgeries and all the chemotherapy he went through, he came back his senior year, caught a couple touchdown passes, not even a year since his diagnosis, and ended up winning a state championship his senior year. So it was a crazy ride, and it'll ultimately be the best thing that ever happened to him, because it made him tougher and a better person. He's going to start a foundation. He's going to do way bigger things than I ever did, and so I'm proud of him for his journey. I hope he's the Kentucky comeback player of the year. He's already won an award from Dick Vitale, the Courageous Kid Award, that we're going to go down and meet with him. So yeah, really proud of the person he's become, and how he handled that whole situation.
Yeah, I mean that's just an incredible story, obviously, and it sounds like with what he's doing with the foundation and stuff, that's just wonderful work that needs to be done, and so obviously that's really cool for what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, once we get everything set up, yeah, we're gonna do hopefully some big things, and partner with some really large institutions to raise, as much awareness and money for cancer research that we can. And he's got a passion for it now, and we all do, because now we know what parents and kids have to go through, and it's a battle, but it's a battle that you can win. And he stayed positive, and his attitude was, the whole time was, he's going to beat this thing, and he just took every task that was in front of him, and he beat it. And that's, to me, is courageous. And so I was really proud of how he handled that, and I think he's going to be a great role model from the platform that he was given.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just an incredible story. So, let's talk a little about the Super Bowl before I let you go here.
Yeah.
This year, who do you got winning? Do you think it's going to be the Chiefs for three in a row?
I think the Chiefs will win. I'm actually pulling for, because my partner, Dr. Patel, he's a big Philly fan. I'm going to the game with him, and so I'm gonna be pulling for the Philly. But I honestly think that the Chiefs will win. I think Patrick Mahomes he's just a winner, and I think they're going to be. I think it's going to be a very close game. And like I said, I'm kind of pulling for Philly, but my gut tells me that the Chiefs are going to do it again, and pull off an amazing feat. Which everybody, it's funny. People were like that about Tiger Woods and Tom Brady, and now it seems like Patrick Mahomes. They get kind of tired of seeing the same people win, but like, that's greatness, and you got to appreciate it. And I think people around should not get so caught up in all the other things, but just appreciate the greatness that's going on, because that's a tough feat, and he's about to do some special things in the NFL.
Yeah, I think people are just kind of tired of hearing the name and all the Taylor Swift stuff. But you
Yeah,
take that out of the equation. I mean, Patrick Mahomes he's a generational quarterback. He's got the chance to
yes.
do something that even Brady didn't.
I agree. I agree. He reminds me of a Steph Curry on the football field. He just has that elusive and playmaking ability.
Absolutely. So, thank you for joining me today. Obviously, it means
Yeah,
a lot coming on this. It's the first episode, so
yeah.
I really appreciate it, and hope wish you well with everything, and obviously wish your son well with his journey and his foundation.
Well, Nick, thank you for having me on. You're going to have a great show. You got a great uncle, Dr. Donnie Answer. It's my man. So really appreciate you having me on. And this show is going to be a long, long time going. So I'm really, really happy to see you do it, and I'm happy to be back anytime.
Yeah, thank you. It really means a lot, and like you said, yeah, got to give a shout out to Don.
That's right. My man, Don. All right. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Wow, we had an amazing opportunity to talk with Chris today. Just an incredible interview talking about his high school experience, playing for his dad, getting to coach, going to U of L, accomplishing everything he did there, including really turning the program around, something that no one had been able to do. And then eventually declaring for the draft, getting drafted, playing for the Ravens, and winning a Super Bowl. He talks about his experiences. It was just an incredible conversation with Chris. I obviously thank him again for being on the show, being my first guest. We got a couple of announcements to make. We are going to, along with the YouTube, everything's going to be live on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you'd rather listen than watch the next episode, you can go to either one of those platforms and listen as you please. Another announcement, we are going to be releasing some shirts. So I'm going to get those designs out on social media here soon. If you want to buy a shirt, you can comment on any of the posts, or I'll also attach my email as well. You can email me or just text me if you have my number. Another thing, we're looking for sponsors right now. So if you're a business or you know a business that might want to sponsor a 30-second clip here on the show, you can have them get in contact with me at beyondthebenchpodcast@gmail.com. So I thank you all for listening, and I thank Chris again for that amazing opportunity to be able to interview him. So thank you and have a good night.